case they have to go anywhere else. Of course, we want to thank our county's hazmat team for bringing their rig here tonight. Hazmat really does a lot of very unique, very important, very specialized work for us all throughout the county, and it's some real neat stuff they're set up to do. I generally give this statement. Our crew is going to be moving a lot slower than we normally would for a vehicle rescue. Just give me time to talk through each step, talk about what's being done. This whole process would probably take about half the time if everything was going at real pace. What they're doing just before we really get into it is they're getting everything that they might need out into our staging area, our tarp right here. That way it'll be easy to go, ready to grab when they need it during the rescue operation. I mentioned we have the hazmat team as well as Leola Ambulance here tonight. All of the green trucks are ours, as well as that the command vehicle across the street. That would be our fleet. This right here is our fire engine, our engine 1. That is the vehicle that it's set up to do firefighting, but it has the vast majority of our vehicle rescue equipment on it. With 222 and a couple of pretty significant intersections, we are one of the busiest vehicle rescue companies that doesn't have a vehicle that is solely dedicated to rescue. So it's an area that we do have a good bit of experience in dealing with vehicle rescue. The squad truck, which is the Ford, the first Ford behind you, that's kind of an auxiliary piece for us. It is set up to help with rescue. It's set up to help with fires. It's also our main vehicle for water rescue. This is a good thing to point out with Hurricane Matthew still being on the news. We don't know what's going to come yet of flood season this year, but this is just a very important reminder. There were 20 people so far in the United States killed with just Hurricane Matthew. The vast majority of those people were killed by being washed away by floodwaters. Whatever we get with rain, with flooding this year, please don't drive through standing water. That is why we have to have our water rescue equipment. That is stuff we would heavily prefer to not have to use because it's such an avoidable thing to not end up in a situation where we have people driving around barriers trying to get through standing water. So please do avoid avoid driving through water, especially with that on our mind right now. The next vehicle over is our fire police unit, our traffic unit. We have that set up to deal with all of the traffic control we might have on our highways, which is a lot more than you might realize. And then the rig that's in our station is our tanker. That is set up to be our main firefighting piece. It's got 2,500 gallons of water. We're a pretty well hydrated area here, but we still do have a lot of rural areas, a lot of farms, a lot of long lanes. Our general thought is between our tanker and we generally are getting Farmersville, our sister company on the other side of our township coming. Our goal is if it's going to be a fire that will get out quickly, we'll be able to do it with our 2,500 gallons of water in that, plus the 3,000 gallons of water they're bringing on their tanker. Farmersville is probably going to be sending a crew over a little bit later, just to say hi. We certainly enjoy our relationship working with them. Are you guys waiting on me? Go whenever. I'm just making stuff up. All right, the crew's going to get to work. We do have one of our younger members who got made to be our victim tonight. Which is probably a good time to mention. If anyone wants to think about joining tonight, you'd have a lot of time to not be our person who's our victim next year. We do provide the gear, the training. It's a great way to serve your community, a great way to learn some new skills. What they've set up already, they put these blocks around the car. This is called stabilization. The wood we refer to as cribbing. We really don't want the car to be shaking and moving once we start doing everything else, because that can make any injury for the person inside the car much worse. If it's whiplash, if it would be dealing with some body part getting pinched up against part of the car, You just don't know what exactly it could be, but it's going to be better if the car's not going to be moving. Now, Leola Ambulance is sending some people in already. They're going to be doing what we call C-spine. They're going to be keeping in contact with that patient, making sure their head's not moving, making sure they know what's going on, and making sure they're coherent and any injuries not getting worse or escalating. Now, it is going to start getting louder. Well, it probably doesn't get louder than this, but we're turning on the power units for our hydraulic tools. The Jaws of Life is a brand name for that, but it basically the Jaws of Life. It's our hydraulic cutters, hydraulic spreaders. We have a couple of tools that do both. They're the ones that do the heavy lifting, the big cutting, the big pushing, that are the vast majority of the vehicle rescue work. Blake is going to start cutting the windshield out. We need that done so the windshield doesn't cause things to get stuck. Meanwhile, Nate is going to start breaking the other windows. We wanted to make sure we get our patient covered up first. Griffin is our patient, so thanks, Griffin. That way there's no glass or pieces of metal or anything that flies on him. So they're getting rid of the windshield. I think in the back, we're just getting all the tools ready to go. Getting some extra stuff out. Right now, Claire, I don't know if you can see him on the driver's side, he's making a purchase point, we call it, where we can get our hydraulic spreaders in. And now Sean is going to start trying to get that door worked open with those hydraulic spreaders on this side. Just about have all the glass broken. Now Blake is going to show another way you can get that purchase point, where you spread the door through the window, and that makes the door bow out a little bit, gives you a nice point. We couldn't do that as nicely on the driver's side because of where our victim is. Now, Claire is back there with our cutters. He's going to start cutting the door off on the driver's side. Meanwhile, over on the passenger side, we're still just about have that door ready to come off. Driver's side, I don't know if you noticed that they pulled all of the plastic away from the inside of that first post to make sure that they're not going to hit any airbags, they're not going to hit anything well, that could blow up could pop in our face. As cars get safer and get more safety equipment in them, it is some extra stuff we have to think about, making sure we don't set any airbags off, making sure we don't do anything like that. Claire over there, he's getting enough of a point that it's going to be, I think they're working towards a roof roll, is that right? Nah, they don't. But he's taking 2 points, that way this A post, that's what we call the first post on a car, it's not going to catch on itself, it's not going to drag in any way. And now Neil is using the cutters on the passenger side door to get rid of that passenger door. then back here on the driver's side, they're going to be making the cuts on the B post and the C post to get ready to remove the roof. Now the fact that this car is a two-door car does actually add some complications for us because it's a lot easier to remove a rear door and you have a lot more space to work with your patient. So there are some added things to think about with not having the rear door. Just with having more confined space, there's some different techniques, some different stuff we have to think about with the area we have to work with a patient in a two-door car. Now you can see both doors are off. They're working on cutting all of the posts. Now they're making sure they coordinate cutting the final post on each side, because obviously once those posts are gone, there's going to be nothing holding that roof up. So you want to make sure everyone's ready, everything's coordinated, everything's done at the right time at this point. All right. Now, if this would be a real scene, we would have enough to get to our patient at this point. So we would just get him on a backboard, get him out. To do another little part of demonstration, we're going to act as if his legs would be pinned. He'd be pushed up too far because of this front end damage or something. So they're going to do what's called a dash roll. So this is what we would do if someone's legs are pinched, if the front end is moved back. It's also a way to deal with limited space in the back seat. Maybe his foot stuck around a pedal, all sorts of different things. But they're starting to make the cuts, make the tighter areas, do what's necessary in the prep work to get that dashboard rolled up and out of the way. I am going to take a minute just to mention that we are a 100% volunteer company. We are entirely funded by donations. So we do this night with the free food to have people out, to get to be out in the community, to get to have you guys here. I did want to bring attention though, we have our next breakfast, an all-you-can-eat breakfast buffet. That'll be Saturday, November 19th from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Please feel free to come out to, well, it's not free. Please come out to that. help support us help you. Also, a couple weeks ago, you should have gotten, people may have gotten a fund drive mailing. That is honestly the easiest way for us to get support. It's an expensive service that we do. Each set of gear is, counting air packs and everything, is up around $10,000. The radios we have now that we need to work with the county system are $3,000. This equipment, of course, is quite expensive. So we really do rely on your support with that. So if there is any way you could help us, if you could come to our breakfast, we'll also have one in January and February. If you could help with our fund drive mailing, that'd be great. Or even if you could just volunteer your time, like I mentioned, we can always use firefighters, fire police. We absolutely can also use just fundraising members to help with events like this tonight, help with our breakfast, help with our auction. There are all sorts of different ways you can be involved, help your community. It's a great service, a great group that we do work with here. While I was doing that, they've been making the cuts. You need to do this right, you need to make sure that it's cut here above the wheel well. That way the metal's gone. And it's also, there's cuts here in this front post next to the wheel. Now it's important to coordinate this on both sides. And that is what Randy, who's our officer in charge of this, he's making sure is done. Now step by step, bit by bit, they're going to get that dashboard lifted up. And it makes so much more space to work with, particularly the legs of our patient.